All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the MycoGeeky Podcast, the podcast that goes deep so you can level up your at-home mycology game. I'm your host, MycoGeeky, and I want to get a little housekeeping out of the way here first. I apologize. We're going to get Alan back on. I know we struck out 2 weeks in a row. Alan is a dedicated hardcore mycologist, and the mushrooms whisper to him. And so he goes when he gets called. We're going to get him rescheduled here. I've been kind of busy for a while, back working in the ER and, holidays and stuff like that. So we're going to get him back in the books probably in the new year. Maybe if I'm lucky, he can be like, our inaugural 2023 guest. That would be my goal. So if you guys still want him on, man, you know what? Bug him. Feel free to reach out to him. Say, hey, we can't wait for you to be on the podcast. Just give him a little bit of encouragement. I think that's all it's going to take, guys. Okay, so next thing up, we're coming up. We did Thanksgiving. It's time for Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever other December winter solstice stuff I'm missing. And in honor of that, on my Discord, we're going to do a 12 days. I think it's going to be more like an 18 days of Christmas giveaway. It's going to be big. I have literally been overwhelmed by the generosity of all the members in my Discord. It was going to just start out being like a little something for the Discord, and it rapidly turned into something much bigger. And so we're going to be giving away a lot of shit, guys, like thousands and thousands of dollars of really cool myco-related stuff. So if you're interested and you're not already on my Discord, I imagine most of you guys are, but if you're not, the link will be in the description below. YouTube channel. Just join the Discord and get ready to sign up for just day after day after day after day of giveaways. It's going to be a good time. Anyway, before I bring up my guest tonight, I want to just kind of parlay a topic into talking about him. We, there's a lot of personalities in just about any community you're in. In the myco community, there are definitely some strong personalities. There's a lot of guruism. There is a lot of this way, my way or the highway, and that's great. It's great to have people that believe in their methodologies. It's great to have people who, have tried and true texts and they stand by them and they believe in them and they teach newbies how to, practice their methodologies. But it's not the only way. There are definitely more than a single way to grow a mushroom. And one of the overriding goals I had with this podcast was to bring in all these great people that are doing different things and just, checking them out, seeing what they're all about. You might not dig everybody. You might downright not like some people I bring on. But overall, I would hope that in regularly watching the podcast, you feel like you're learning stuff, you're having some of your ideas challenged, you're evolving, or if nothing else, I'm just something to listen to while you're doing transfers on a Monday night. Anyway, with that said, speaking of the devil, this guy I met pretty early on in my mycology career, which is very young, 1 year, and he was just absolutely unique. He was the guy who we would all be talking like, oh, I wonder if you could such and such. and he'd show up out of the blue and go, oh, yeah, you can. I did it. We'd be like, oh, okay, cool. I guess I'll try it. Oh, what do you know? It works. And this guy, really embodies a philosophy that we hold dear in many a myco Discord, which is the fuck around and find out mentality. That's how you find out, guys. You fuck around. You can read a book, but sometimes you got to just fuck around to find out. So anyway, this guy, he does a lot of fucking around, and he has done a whole lot of finding out. He's been growing mushrooms for about 22 years. Gourmets, actives, you name it. If it's a mushroom, if it's got a basidiocarp, there's a good chance he's probably tried to grow it. So without further ado, let me welcome you, my friend and definitely master cultivator, SlightlyFeral. What's up, man?
Hi, guys. Happy to be on. I John of the Jungle was like, you're going to end up in a GIMP mask, and I tried
It's all
real hard
good.
not to make one, and I ended up in one anyway.
Hey man, well, you gotta sip on your scissorp.
Yes.
You gotta have access. I actually appreciate the cutout. It works. So you're just one of my favorites. Everything you say is unique and wonderful. And however, I will say some people don't live up to their screen names. Some people, I don't even know where their screen names come from. They don't even make sense to me. I will say without a shadow of a doubt, you picked a very accurate screen name. You are not afraid to say what you think, and I love you for it. And it's always a good time.
I didn't really pick my screen name. I own SlightlyFeral across the internet. What happened is a long time ago. We're talking way back when I cared about people. That I was dating someone, and they were trying to explain to their friends, about me. He's like, well, he's not really domesticated. And I was like,
Right.
partially domesticated sucks. At least describe me as like slightly feral or something.
Yes.
And then, boom, that was it.
I love it, man. It's great. It reminds me of my buddy Dirty South. I forget what his little slogan is, but it's similar, where it's like eloquently disheveled or something like that. And it just when it fits, it fits. Anyway, so man, I have so many little tidbits of things that you have taught me and exposed me to talk about. But how about we start like I start with everybody? Tell me, like, the first mushroom memory, the like early, how did you get into it? Did you hate mushrooms most of your life? And then you started dating a girlfriend that loved mushrooms. Like, what is your sort of your mycology origin story?
Mycology origin story. Well, we grew up really poor. And so we kind of did everything and made everything ourselves. And my mom went through this terrible phase of beef stroganoff. And I don't know if it was just... Now
hamburger helper or actual beef stroganoff?
The hamburger helper.
Okay.
But then she would take a can of like the cheapest mushrooms and just dump them in there.
Sure.
So I grew up, I hated mushrooms.
Okay.
But I loved to cook. So occasionally I'd be like, well, that's okay. I like the umami and the taste and stuff of them. But really, it didn't get started until with my love affair with mushrooms really didn't get started until I started reading all these scientific magazines about the things that they could actually do, having mushrooms break down stuff, how they were talking to trees. And then I've always been a farmer and a gardener. Right. So it was really interesting on that part. So I kind of got into it in reverse, where it was the plants brought me into the mushrooms instead of the mushrooms brought me into the plants. So I started trying to specifically cultivate stuff outdoors. That went, okay. I mean, sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. And then one day my wife went to the grocery store to go buy some stuff for dinner and came back with these really beautiful mushrooms that were in packaging, and it was really neat looking packaging. This is a long time ago.
Sure.
And I was like, well, how much are those? And she was like, I didn't even look, but they were expensive. And I was like, well, I mean, how much is expensive? And it was like 2 ounces of these trumpet mushrooms. It was like $7, but this was, early 90s. And I guess, late 90s. And I was like, man, that was really expensive. That's way more than milk. Milk was like $1.12. So I was like, I'm going to figure out how to do this. And back then,
I love that. I love you remind me of my dad. My dad will like, that's too much money. And then he'll like go on this whole tangent for 5 years of like figuring out how to build something he should have never tried to build in the first place.
I make my own everything. I mean, we really do. Yeah. We make our own beer, wine, whiskey, soap, everything.
Nice.
And it's way more expensive than buying it.
Sure.
But zombie apocalypse, we're golden.
You're ready. I know whose house I'm going to.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. So I was started down this rabbit hole. And back then, the internet was basically Yahoo chat rooms, Hotmail, and porn, right?
Right.
And it was really, really slowly loading porn.
It's not much different now, but yes.
Yeah, there was absolutely. Now it's just Discord and
Yes.
porn and Reddit.
Correct.
But you couldn't find really anything online. So you go to the local. And that was a small town. So I go to the local library, and they had like 2 books on mushrooms,
Okay.
and one of them was by National Geographic, and it was yay thick, and it was just basically pictures of mushrooms and stuff. But there was a massive amount of mystery about how to grow mushrooms.
Yeah.
And so I just started fucking around and finding out.
Right.
I took a couple of local biology classes and learned how to do like transfers and clone stuff, plants. And I was like, okay, well, let's apply this to mushrooms. Turns out mushrooms are way easier to clone. You can basically accidentally do it, especially with gourmets. Gourmets are not the little baby that all your actives are. Actives require so much more babying than gourmets.
Right.
Gourmets actually are not that far removed away from being wild mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
And you can still go out today and find the exact same like pink oyster that you are growing, and maybe it's a better cultivar from a wild than what you've got.
Yeah.
So they're very, very forgiving. I've had them grow right over trick. I've had them do all sorts of crazy stuff. Back then, the way to grow mushrooms was to fill your bathtub full of hot water and then take a straw bale and put it in there.
Right.
And then
soak it up.
Yeah, soak it up, and then you're supposed to inoculate it, wrap it up, and pray. And maybe it would grow. It's going to mold first, and they considered that just like the black mold was a good thing because it meant that it was alive and you didn't kill it, right?
Okay.
It meant that you didn't have enough chlorine in your water to kill it. So it was pretty primeval, but still had some stuff work, and it worked out really well. And so we're like, well, got to talking and reading some boards, and there was some people who were doing some wild stuff with, using lye water to kind of sterilize everything, and that was quite dangerous. I've got a few scars from that, but hey, it worked.
Wow. So you sterilize chemically.
Yes, and it's still in use. There's still people who swear by it, by growing on straw that is just with lye water. It's usually lye water and straw. And then you'll just let the net, because mushrooms can take really alkali conditions. They don't do so well in acid, but you're just trying to make it so alkali that nothing else can deal with it. And then as it breaks it down, it's naturally going to balance out the pH before it fruits. Just by producing amino acids. So it's pretty interesting. That part was the good old days.
See, man, now you're in that. I haven't even heard that story, but that's like, this is what I love. This is why I think we don't. I think basically you have some shroomery guys, or the guys that have been growing 20 plus years, and they sort of some of them just stay in shroomery, like you and I got a couple other buddies that have been growing for over 20 years, and they reluctantly, but they did make the move to Discord. They now see that Discord's pretty great for what we're doing. And we don't get all these stories. So I love hearing lye water. I love imagining your bathtub full of a giant pile of straw.
Yeah, that was fun. That happened once. And then it was moved to the garage in 55-gallon barrels. Yeah. The wife really did not appreciate that at all, even though it left the tub beautifully clean. Like lye water is amazing for cleaning.
But it's like very concentrated soap, right?
Yes, it was. It was very much not appreciated.
Yeah,
it was not appreciated later when I used the bathtub to raise ducks. That was also very much not appreciated.
Yeah, anyway, I mean, there's so many uses for a bathtub.
Oh,
I mean, they're underutilized.
Whoever uses the bathtub, you a savage? Everybody takes a shower nowadays.
Oh my God! All these yuppies that buy their fancy master bathrooms with that fancy soaking tub.
Yeah,
they use it the first week they buy the house, and then they never use it again.
Freaking human crock pots! What that?
Yes, exactly. Although now maybe they're using them for their new ice water challenges. Everybody's, thanks to Joe Rogan, everybody's sitting in ice baths now. I'm not convinced yet, but
great. That's fantastic.
So you moved from your bathtub, you moved into the garage. Wife didn't like it, not surprised.
Yeah, and so I had this like super elaborate setup where I was taking like these bales of hay that we were just making from just random hay that was just baling outside, like just cutting the fence rows because I didn't want to use anything from the horses or the cattle or anything. And I had this huge elaborate setup with chain hoists, and I was lowering it down from the ceiling, these big 70-pound bales into like boiling water, and it worked, but it was just sometimes it would work really well, and sometimes you would just end up with this amazing fruiting of inky capped mushrooms, which are edible. You just can't drink on them.
Yeah,
they make you vomit like crazy. They're one of my favorite things to freeze dry and powder. The inky capped mushrooms. You can make amazing ink out of them, but their better use is to go to Alcoholics Anonymous and put it into the coffee.
Wait, what?
Yes.
Wait, why?
It's just another step on my yellow brick road to hell.
Oh my god.
So just dried, ground up inky cap mushrooms in the coffee. It's not going to add any sort of flavor. Just put it in there right before it brews.
And then their mouth just turns.
You'll be able to tell who's lying and who isn't. Have you been drinking?
Oh.
Your projectile vomiting everywhere.
Oh, interesting. Wow.
Oh, it happened quick. Yeah, it's pretty quick.
Man, I would have loved to have been in some rooms with you. I bet that would have been interesting.
Dude, if you lived next door to me, like even 10, 15 years ago, we would be in prison. It would be without a doubt. The stuff I got away with back then, you couldn't get away with nowadays because people would consider terroristic activities.
Yes.
Who cares if you want to drug an entire church basement full of alcoholics?
Right. But was it funny?
Yes. It was hilarious. It's like, you and you are lying. Give me your coin. It's like, you're not even here. Who are you? You're like, shh, anonymous. But
wow. Okay. So that is a very, very specific, completely expected bit of inky cap information trivia I would only expect to get from you.
Oh, inky cap mushrooms are great.
So you're just saying that the spores would just be latent in the straw.
Yes.
Right. You weren't inoculating with them. They were just there.
No. Okay. They can really take a beating too. So the inky cap spores will live inside like the hollow parts of grass, straw, grass, something like that. And then when it falls over and decays and gets wet, then it come out and go to town.
Cool.
But man, they can take a beating. I mean, just lowering them into the boiling water, putting the top half on it, boiling it for an hour or two, taking it, letting it just cool overnight, draining it off, and you'd still get it wasn't enough to pasteurize it. For those guys can take a beating. As far as I'd say, those guys are really, really sturdy. There's a lot of mushrooms and a lot of things that won't take nearly the beating that inky cap mushrooms will. Those things, and they're so fast.
Yeah, and then the irony is there's have such a short kind of window of opportunity. Then that's the irony.
They live their whole life in like 14 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. They go from like, okay, we're little guys, and we're going to spread out everywhere like crazy, pop up a whole bunch of fruiting bodies, and then autolyze and turn into a black goo. The whole thing's like 14 hours. They're super fast. They're super cool. If we could just train them to do something neat, like, I don't know, eat homeless people. But, yeah, what's up? Okay.
The projects Paul Stamets does not talk about. We don't know what he's doing over there. I did see a video recently. He had a real scientist in one of his videos, so you never know what they're doing over there. An actual. I mean, that he had a lab coat on. I'm assuming.
Well, chiropractors wear lab coats, but they're still not doctors.
That's true. Yes. Yeah. Same with our nurse practitioners like to wear lab coats as well. Yes.
We have a very similar like what we do for a living.
Yes, we kind of we roam with the same types. Yes. Okay, so inky cap sometimes. So what were you growing back then? Like oysters?
We were really trying for oysters, but what we ended up doing the best at was reishi, just because they're assholes, man. They're really tough to kill. If you get they're really tough to kill, and the more neglect you do to them, the happier they are.
Yeah. So I'm gonna tell a quick side story. So Slightly sent me my very first gourmet blocks a while back, and hands
That was
down
the shiitake, right?
the most amazing shiitake you'll ever see. He's got a special strain that's just incredible. But he also sent me some reishi and lion's mane, and lion's mane. It needs a lot of air. I didn't give it enough air. So it top fruited, and it was fine. I powdered it up and put it in some, micro doses. But the reishi, Neglect Tech works on the reishi blocks. I just literally forgot about it. Maybe once in a blue moon, I would think to missed it. And I got some amazing antlers. It wasn't the best thing I've ever seen, but it was good. So, yeah.
People baby them to death.
They clearly don't need that.
No, they don't. I think that I had one that I used it as an example for a long time. I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years. And it started off as just a huge, big block of sawdust. And what it actually started off with was a mixture of like spilt rabbit food, some horse stall shavings, stuff like that. And then just ran over it a few times with the truck while we were backing up in and out of the barn. And then I was like, I'll just take a shovel, scrape it up, throw it in a bag.
Oh my God.
Pressure cook it, and then pack it down really good. And I ended up with this maybe 40-pound block of just randomness. And then I was like, what am I going to put in here? Well, reishi, you can set it and forget it. I don't even go to grain with reishi. I just inoculate straight through the bag. Like, you don't have to do grain spawn. You don't have to do anything. Just alcohol swab on a bag, shove a needle in, and
one step.
And draw out. Yeah.
Now, dude, that's so funny that you say that, because there was one day, this was after, and we'll talk about forest floor in a minute, but there was one day I was like cleaning my kitchen or my dining room table off, and I just had this pile of like gross crumbs from dinner, and in my head the voice popped up that said, I wonder if SlightlyFeral's ever used this as substrate before.
Well, I took that huge block of reishi and weighed it, and it was something crazy, like 48 pounds, something like that. Yeah, when it was wet and everything, it was. I have pretty good sized hands, it was a beer, but it was, I don't know, maybe 2.5 feet tall, 2.5 feet wide, 2.5, 3 feet long. It was a big block of just substrate. I inoculated it. I had it wrapped up in a piece of painter's tarp, and then I just kind of forgot about it. And then once it started fruiting just through the seams of the painter's tarp, I took it out and I plopped it onto like an end table in the house. And unwrapped it and just left it open to the air. And then we'd have these huge antlers breaking off. We just go by, break them off. The wife would make tea with them or sell them to some hippies. I don't know, whatever she was doing. And then, but it was there and it fruited for maybe 8 months until it ran out of water. And then once it ran out of water, it turned this like reddish dark color, dark reddish black. And then I was like, well, it's time to chuck it. When I picked it up, it probably only weighed at that point, maybe 17, 18 pounds. And it had lost, most of it was water, and it's also lost a lot. The blocks reduced in size because they actually go to atmospheric carbon.
Okay.
Like they turn into CO2. So you're actually turning the carbon into the CO2, and that's where a lot of your size goes. Also, when you compost, that's where the compost becomes, from being a big giant pretty pile to a little bit tiny thing. So I was like, we'll just rehydrate it, but it wouldn't rehydrate at all. It was like styrofoam, basically. You could have probably stood a baby on top of it and it would just float.
Do you think it just chewed through absolutely everything and all that was left was like dried mycelium or what?
Well, I took a power drill and like a 1-inch paddle bit and just drilled holes in it and then forced it under the water for 2 days. It still sucked up enough water to fruit a few more times. But we had that thing for a long time because it was really neat. Like when it would rain, it would be outside. If it rained for a few days, it would just fruit.
Right.
And once or twice, but it was so dense and that you could never get it to rehydrate well again. But it was pretty neat, man. It fruited for 8 or 9 months. Pounds pounds and pounds and pounds. But everybody would be like, because you got this weird.
It's like a pet. It's like an 8-month pet.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm kind of attached
my pet
to it.
mushroom block here.
Yeah, I mean, and the ratio grows so weird, man. They come off, and then they kind of open up, and then they lobe, and they start off like this white, mushy-looking crap, and then change colors and turn orange and brown. They're pretty neat, man. I like them. They're pretty cool.
Oh yeah, it seemed like something alien almost. I mean, in general, a lot of mushrooms have that vibe for me, where it's like, where is this from? Is it even from Earth? But yeah, reishi really definitely has that vibe for sure.
They're very, very neat. So we've done a little bit of everything. And that actually experiment is kind of what kind of got us into making different substrates.
Okay.
Substrates.
Oh yeah, we that's, I mean, in my little list of things we're going to talk about, you and substrates are definitely like, you come up in many a substrate conversation. So let's do it.
Let's do a brief overview of the history of substrates just in active mushrooms. Let's say active mushrooms.
Go for it.
It started off with people trying to grow in dirt. They literally just went over to the cow pies and the horse pies. Took a shovel, dug it up, put it into a bag, and tried to fruit that.
Right.
Okay. And then they were like, "Oh, it must be the hay, right? It's the hay that's in the poop that everything's eating." Okay, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take a shitload of hay and we're gonna try to do that. And that was kind of where I came in. I started my mycology kind of career was during the big heyday, where everybody was using everything for hay,
right? And
bathtubs and barrels and all sorts of messes with hay, and or just straw, really. And that kind of worked. But and now it's I think we're just at the end of the cocoa core bullshit, right?
Okay.
I call it the bullshit. I'm sure some of you out there are
here we go. The feral's coming out.
Yeah, you're sleeping with your bag of core. You've named it. You've loved it. It has its own Amazon Prime instant order little button. All right, but core it's really nothing. It's a carrier of water.
Right.
That's all it is. And you know what's also a really good carrier of water that regulates pH? Peat moss. You know it's cheap as shit? Peat moss. It's just somebody somewhere said core, and then everybody was like, cool, because nobody experiments.
Right. Yes.
Nobody experiments anymore. That's why people are like Pinterest is a thing. You get like maybe 4 dozen people on Pinterest that doing something, and everybody copies it. But,
poorly, yes.
Yeah.
So my food never looks good.
I never jumped on the core bandwagon. I think I did one grow with core, and I was like, this stuff looks like peat moss, and so I just used peat moss. Right. You know what doesn't have a salt problem? Peat moss.
Right.
You know what they don't inoculate with trick? Peat moss.
Right.
So it works out really, really well. You don't have to rinse it. You can usually buy it. You can buy huge bales of it. Right now in the Pacific Northwest, they're doing this whole thing where they're starting to try to track people buying core because they're figuring that they're going to be.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. My heart says it's bullshit, but my head says
mine does too.
Government's that stupid. All right. So, like, let's go attack gardeners, right? So. I mean, like, who actually used core, as expensive it is, to plant stuff in the garden? Nobody right. does. So it's going to be used for growing weed or growing mushrooms. Yes. So I am in this group that is awesome. It's Anonymous Spores. It's kind of like just a group of our homies. Deadpool, he's on here.
Yeah.
He runs it. He brought me in there. And then since we've been in there,
that was my first Discord. That was my that's how my Discord cherry got popped. That's how I learned to love Discord. Yes. Yeah. Shout out to Deadpool, one of my old school buds.
Yeah, he's one of the ones that brought me there, right? Like he brought me from, I don't even remember where the hell he found me online, but he drug my ass in there, and we started experimenting with a whole bunch of stuff because he's a guy who's all like, he's some crazy New Yorker, he lives way up in the middle of nowhere in the state of New York, but not the city of New York. He actually just almost died in the snow. That they just had like 1 million feet of snow up there.
Like 6 feet.
Yeah, whatever. Snow. It's 1 billion feet, 6 feet, whatever. There's no difference. I'm in Texas. It sometimes snows here, and then we have snowpocalypse with 1/4 inch of snow.
Correct.
So he got a ton, and he's basically southern Canada, and he drugged me in there, and then we started just experimenting, and everybody would do these big group grows where we would we'd take one sample, and we would take like 4 or 5 different substrates that I just made up drunk, and I'd mail everybody like a bag, like a 5-pound bag of substrate.
Yeah.
And everybody would get the same 4 samples of 5 different substrates, right?
Right.
So I had to make a shit ton of substrate. I mail these boxes off to everybody, and then everybody would grow them, and then we'd pick like, okay, this substrate works really, really well. This one's crap, and this one's different. And all of them were like core free. And then things kind of got out of hand. And now I don't use core at all. I use something I call forest floor.
Yeah, man, I can't wait. I tell people about this, and they go, "Huh? What?"
Yeah, so, I don't use any core at all, and I use something called forest floor. And what it is it's peat moss, hay. I buy chopped straw from Tractor Supply. I think they use it for like nests for chickens.
Right.
You know, there's like a 2.5 cubic foot bale is, God, I don't know, like 14 or 15 bucks. It's really, really cheap. And you literally only need like a handful. Like I make all of my substrates in what do you call it? The cement mixer. Yeah. Yeah. So guys, just so you know, he used I don't know if it's a Harbor Freight one or where it's from, but it's a legitimate cement mixer. It is a Harbor Freight. It's the big orange Harbor Freight.
It works.
Yeah. And if you guys want to buy one, they're like $200. If you find them on sale, they're under $200. I love it. You could mix a whole bunch of bowling balls in there, or just like a whole bunch of babies. Like it'll fit like a ton of stuff, right? But buy the floor one. Do not let them put the fucking box that this thing comes in, because it comes in not a surprisingly small box that is extremely heavy and like literally 200 and some odd parts. Right. There's entire Facebook groups and YouTube channels dedicated to putting together this son of a bitch. Like part of the instructions for it is fabricate an engine mount using the required pieces, or so it just gives you some flat pieces of metal with like little slots cut in it. You're supposed to go and fabricate your own engine mount for it. So
lesson learned. Let them put it together.
There's no price difference. Make some other poor person that works there have to put together another one. It was I measure how hard something is by the number of beer, and it was a good solid 9 to 10 beer like adventure. Okay. I actually when I built it, I was on the Discord and I was taking pictures and showing everybody, and they're like, that is ridiculous. That is stupid. I was like, yes, but we got together. This thing is amazing. I just have flipped the tumbler part upside down, and it's been out through the rain and hail and storms and everything else. It's bulletproof. I've used it for actual cement. Yeah. But 99% of the stuff I do with it is mixing substrate. It is a pleasure to mix substrate with it.
That's awesome.
One of the ways that I do substrate is probably a little bit different than everybody else, is that people try to rehydrate everything perfectly and then mix it together, whereas I rehydrate this stuff separately and then mix it together, and then I'll add a dry product to it. So let's talk about how I'll do my forest floor. Yeah. Love this one. This is the best for growing actives or gourmet. That it doesn't quite have enough wood to grow like shiitake or something. Okay. But you'll get all your oysters. Pink oyster just absolutely loves it. So you're going to do your peat moss, your just straw, just chopped straw in there. And then you're going to go get a cheap bag of compost. And just something, I use the Good Earth brand, I think is what it is. It's from Walmart. Oh no, it's from Home Depot. And what
Okay.
if you read the back of it? It doesn't. They're not shipping it in from a billion miles away. Is that they work with local municipalities and basically
Yeah.
just make it local and then
Right.
bag it. Right. Then
They,
ship it under the.
they don't want to ship shit any farther than they have to. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So it's just your local municipality's yard waste, tree trimming, stuff like that, all
Right.
composted down with probably human poo. Who doesn't know? It doesn't matter.
Sure.
Um,
Might help. Who
but
knows?
it's like $2 for a freaking huge, like 60
Right.
pound bag. So it's perfectly fine. Then I add that. So we're doing probably 50%. Well, okay. Let's do it by volumes. Not volumes, but like parts. right?
Sure.
So we're doing 1 part peat moss, 1 part compost, 1 part straw, but hydrate your straw in copper.
First.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
you're going to take your straw and you're going to take it and you're going to put it in a big pot of just hot water with
Mm-hmm.
strong coffee in it.
Okay.
It also works really well if you add a secret ingredient called erythritol in there. So erythritol is a
What's
sweetener.
that? Oh, sweetener.
So
Okay.
it's a sweetener, but it's in mushroom. For us, it's a sweetener. It's actually very bitter, but
Mhm.
it just tricks the tongue to make you think that it's really sweet.
Okay.
But in mushrooms, it's a natural growth hormone. It is literally a growth hormone in mushrooms, and that's one reason. When
And how
put
do you
stuff
spell it?
on
Does it start with an E or a U?
Yep, starts with an E.
Okay.
So that's one reason that China was the first people that figured that out, and that's why they're pumping out so many huge mushrooms and mushroom products for so cheap, is they're literally just adding erythritol. There you go.
I'm just putting it up there so it's, on the public record. People can look it up.
Yep,
Cool.
that stuff works so well.
Interesting.
Yep, works awesome. It one of the reasons when people would buy stuff from me in the past was with my agar and different things like that.
Mhm.
They would wonder why. Oh man, your shit really works really well. Like, why does it grow so much better on your agar? I was like, erythritol. I didn't tell them back when I was
Right.
selling petri dishes, like blank petri dishes. I
Mhm.
wasn't gonna tell them what it is. I was like, magic, unicorn tears,
Mhm.
homeless person milk. It's just
Right.
who cares? It works, right? But it's erythritol.
Okay.
It's cheap as shit. You can buy it at home at Walmart. It's a sweetener for diabetic people. It's like
Okay.
a sugar substitute. That's what it is.
All right.
But you're using a very small amount. I'd say to make 50 pounds of substrate, you're using 3 tablespoons, if that.
Oh, okay. So
Like,
very little.
It is
Yeah.
very powerful hormone. It's a hormone. It's a very, very powerful hormone for mushrooms. A little bit goes a long way. And that's why I'm saying mix it in with your straw.
Gotcha.
So if
Okay.
you've got your
So it just soaks a
water-
little bit of it up. Yeah.
Yeah, you got your pot of water,
Okay.
throw in a small handful of erythritol in there, a handful of coffee grounds, let it come to boil, let it cool down a little so you don't burn yourself, and you'll mix that wet straw in with the dry ingredients that are already in
Okay.
your tumbler. And it's going to add some of your water because most of that stuff's going to come already in the bag as
Right.
pretty hydrated.
Okay.
All right, so we're there, and then I throw in some to keep everything from matting down. That perlite. I
Mhm.
love perlite.
Yeah.
Perlite's amazing. Throw in some perlite and then a little bit of magnesium sulfate. So that is Epsom salt.
Yep.
So just a pinch of Epsom salt in there. I don't measure it. Usually, okay, it's 1 toddler handful. However the hell that much makes.
Okay.
My daughter's the person who puts it in there.
Okay.
It's one 3-year-old's handful of Epsom salt. But it works really, really well. I let it tumble, add a little water if needed, usually from the pot where I boiled the hay.
Okay.
So, yeah, just so it's got the coffee, so it's got the little bit of nitrogen kick. Little caffeine is also another hormone that works really, really well on stimulating some mushroom growth,
Okay.
but only in small amounts.
Right.
Too much, and it retards
Wow.
growth.
Right.
So, yeah, some of that little erythritol coffee mix, chuck it in there to rehydrate with, and then once it's done, bag it and sterilize it. And that stuff works so well. And I did not upload a picture of it, I don't believe. No, everything I got's on Making Green.
What were you going to show? A picture of the
Of the erythritol and making.
Oh, you were.
Yeah. I was going to show a picture of the of making but this too bad this thing only does PDFs, man. It would be so much easier.
I wish it did JPEGs. Maybe they'll fix that if we keep complaining.
Let's see what happens if we do this. I got to experiment here. Watch out.
I mean, this is crazy. I've had a few people in the comments section say, "Oh yeah, of course, erythritol. I use that all the time." And I'm sitting here going, "Shit, man, I never even heard of this stuff."
Yeah, we used it. I've been using it for quite a while, and everybody's now just starting. The last couple of years has really started to. To use it, and it's kind of in our little group. We've been doing a bunch of stuff like that, like erythritol,
right?
Like for a long time. We're talking several years, and
yeah, you guys are great. So you guys actually, you and then my buddy Whitebeard. There's a few you guys have these like the secret Myco discords. Like I don't tell people about because I know it's like no, because what's special about them is it's a very small group. Right? Like, I don't know. A lot of people, Discord's about, it's like a pissing contest, like who's got the biggest Discord. And it's not about that. When Discord is really special, it's like your membership is, everybody, you keep up with every conversation and everyone evolves together. That's the magic for me right there with Discord. My Discord is now too big. I can't even keep up with it all. It's great, though. It's still got a lot of good resources, and people can, I pin a lot of stuff, and it's a good resource. But the vibe completely changes when they get large, and Anonymous Spores is super cool because it's small.
Yes, and we're not really looking to add a whole bunch of randos.
No.
No. We're really
sorry, guys. By invite only.
There we go. Bam.
Oh, you got it. Okay, let's pull it up.
That's forest floor right there.
There we go, guys. Forest floor. I definitely see the peat.
Yeah, so you got a little bit of hay and straw and all sorts of crazy crap. But that's after it's been all tumbled and mixed for, I don't know, a beer or a potty break. It doesn't take long.
And one thing that's interesting about your mortar mixer idea is I used to mix, just bucket tech with a spoon, and then somebody said, "Dude, you have got to go buy a little mortar mixer. Not the big one like you have, but just like a drill, right, that handles high torque." And I got a little paddle bit, and then I started mixing in a large cooler, and I was mixing better. I was homogenizing better, and so I'm imagining that your setup homogenizes even better than that. Because like my cooler still has a corner, right? So that's what's great about that drum just tumbling the whole time. I mean, and I just saw it in the picture. It's just, it's perfectly homogenized.
Oh, yeah. It works really, really well for that. It's a lot of fun, and I don't know why none of this will open. Why will this not open? What in the hell?
Yeah, Overjoyed, I'm going to, while you're looking for that, Overjoyed said, "I appreciate all the Myco Discord servers, less drama than Facebook groups." So besides the drama, and besides the fact that Facebook is literally set up to antagonize and to deepen our core beliefs and to create opportunities to fight with people who disagree with you, more importantly, Discord, if you set up two-factor authentication, it is just the safest platform you can be on. You're not going to get hacked. Like every freaking day on Facebook, somebody's hacked. Somebody's send me a stupid message, and then a day later it's like, "Oh, sorry, I got hacked." And shit just doesn't happen on Discord. It is hands down my favorite social media platform.
All right, I figured it out. Hold on. Maybe. Well, never mind.
Oh, you spoke too soon.
Why won't it let you convert this?
It won't let you do it there. Now, if you convert it on your computer, you can.
Well, it won't let me. It won't let me convert it. Period. Not anymore. Which is really strange because we were doing so well.
Yeah, by the way, Slightly literally figured something out on here that I had not even figured out yet. So, again, just perspective, guys. It's really great when we all put our heads together. I can't tell you how many times I just had an issue on my Discord where everybody couldn't upload. All of a sudden, people couldn't upload videos anymore. Couldn't figure out what the fuck was going on. Went through, I contacted Discord. I asked a bunch of people. No one could figure out. And then finally one day, my buddy Rufus Red, he said, do you think you might have a bot that's restricting this? And so, flash forward, Rufus fixed the whole thing, man. He figured it out. It was a bot I'd added, just an automatic setting. Problem solved.
Right.
Put your heads together, we figure shit out.
We have figured it out. So it really does not like doing this on the fly.
I guess not.
And that kind of sucks. It would be so much fun if we could just drag and drop right over.
I know. Oh, so you think that's what it is? You think you were able to do that before we went live, and now that we're live?
Yes.
You can't? Oh,
so
that does suck.
Now what I have to do now is I'm having to re-download all of the pictures that I had saved before, and then reconvert them to send them back up.
Gotcha.
It's going pretty quick. Like if I needed to talk, like,
sure,
there's the tumbler full of forest floor. Like if we needed to like talk about a specific thing, it's we can get it done.
Right. Now, so after you mix all this stuff, are you sterilizing all your bags of substrate then?
Yes, I am a huge proponent of sterilize everything. I've tried, like I said, I've tried and failed miserably over the years to do stuff pasteurized, even chemical pasteurization, just nothing. I pressure cook everything. And I don't have one of those giant, massive pressure cookers. As much as I'd love one, I have just a fleet of those bigger, like, they're
23 quarts.
Yeah, 23 quart pressure cookers.
They work, man. They work.
And then I have the like those outdoor camp chef 2-burner cookers.
Right.
And I just have like 6. I run like 6 of those at a time, and then 6 of the pots. But I've got it down to such an art form. I can hear when they're ready.
Right.
Like you're like, oh, this one's about to start going. This one's about to start going.
All right. So I got 2 questions for you that before we move on, and then it sort of doesn't make sense. First question, Phil Arid. Can we ask Feral about Erythritol and Cubensis, and then
yes.
How do you say it? Erythritol.
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 I say it erythritol because I'm American.
Erythritol.
You can call it however the hell you want.
I'll figure it out one day.
So erythritol works super, super, super good for Cubensis.
Okay.
That's probably the second time I ever used it was with Cubensis.
Okay.
And it really, 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 really works good.
Okay. Okay, so then his follow-up is concentration, and I believe you had said you're just putting some of it in the boiling water.
0.003. So you could try to do the math, but it's 0.003. It's like 3/1000. So by weight.
But I thought you were just putting it in the hay water.
Yes, I am.
Okay, and so it's even that little bit in the hay water.
Nah, screw that. The hay can't absorb that much water, right?
Okay.
It really doesn't absorb that much water. When you grab a handful of hay, you drop it in the water, you cook it, you pick it up, all the water just comes right out of it. That's why it's called straw. It's basically a bunch of straws, right? And you can squish it real hard and get a few drops out of there.
Sure.
So you really can't screw this up unless you just turn it to syrup.
Okay.
Right? So you're good to go.
So it almost doesn't matter. You put a little, like you said, a baby handful in your pot of boiling water. It's going to absorb some of it. It's not likely going to absorb too much.
No, it would have.
Okay.
I don't know how you'd make it absorb too much.
Okay, great.
Yeah, you can't really make hay absorb a lot. That's why it's used for its surface area to clean up oil spills, not for its absorption ability. Right? Mm-hmm. And for the surface area is the exact same reason that we're going to use it to grow mushrooms, like specifically Cubensis. Cubensis absolutely loves grasses. It just freaking loves them. Remember, you got this big old horse running around, chewing up all that shit, literally, and then pooping it out. and it's landing on top of other grasses. And so what it's using is the hollow part to crawl its ass from one place to another. And it works just like snakes and ladders, the old game. Like you'll watch it. Oh, it's just you've got an inoculation point here, and then holy crap, on the other side of the bag over here. Right. Oh, it's already started growing there. You didn't even watch it crawl over there. It just goes
cool
everywhere.
As shit, dude.
Yeah, it follows
that. I have never. I mean, so when Wumbo Myco was on, he's probably the only other person that said, yeah, you should consider adding some straw to your substrate. But he never said that. The whole concept that the mycelium is going to just V-line through one of those tubes, and then magically you got an inoculation point somewhere else, that is fantastic. And
it loves the cellulose in it and the carbon in it.
And I personally think, so one thing that I've noticed, I love millet. Don't get me wrong, it has a lot of inoculation points. But one thing I like about corn is I almost feel like all those little gaps, it's like the Myc likes to jump gaps. Like it likes to travel. And so I wonder if that hay just more closely mimics its behavior in nature.
Yes, and so this is how I do my grain spawn, by the way. So we've covered my favorite substrate, and my favorite substrate for Cubensis works super well, guys, and my favorite substrate for everything but shiitake. Right, that same Force 4 works for everything but shiitake. Shiitake's its own damn animal. It doesn't like food. It doesn't like anything. It just wants a block of freaking wood with some water in it, and to be left the hell alone until it looks like shit.
Right. It's true.
Once it looks like just trash, you're gonna like throw it away because it looks like it's got black exudate everywhere, and it just looks like crap. That's when it's at its best.
Yes. Agreed. So, okay, real quick before we go on, somebody asked, just so we can bookend this and
so Edward there, on. Buddy, you got $1.50 a pound for erythritol. Great. Unless you are, I make
you don't need that much.
Just absolute massive amounts of substrate. Like when I sell it, I sell it to some professional growers, like people who are they're not growing actives. Right. But they're like growing, for farmers markets, like all sorts of trumpets, all sorts of. They tried to grow wood ear one year, it didn't go very well. But they grow enoki. Enoki love this shit too. Enoki love Forest 4.
Wow.
So and I bought one, I think, 2-pound bag from
100 years ago.
From Walmart, like. During Obama, and I still got it.
You got that Obama. You got the Obama price back there.
Yeah, but it's getting low. But I've still got it. It really does not take much. If you've got a pound, buddy, you've got enough.
You're good. For your grandkid. Yeah, you can put it in your will, guys. Okay, so quick question. Somebody said, can they use this with Dr. Myc? And then Deadpool said, I wouldn't be surprised if it's in it. I have been told, and I have every reason to believe that Dr. Myc is absolutely nothing but various colonies of bacteria. Now, I would also be inclined then to say, why bacteria find out? Who knows? If it helps it or hurts it, you wouldn't know till you tried it.
It's basically Activia.
Yeah, so try it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big fan of Dr. Myc. Okay, don't know the guy. Never met him. Never talked to him. No idea. Genius. Fucking selling dried Activia to people. Fucking genius.
What do you mean Activia? What is? Oh, I mean, okay, so Activia. Sure, yeah, you could, you can simplify
yogurt.
it. Yes.
It's basically just dried like yogurt, which adding yogurt to things was a thing a long time ago. But then they found that it smells like terrible after a little while. Right. But but genius, just absolutely genius. Wish I'd have came up with it. You know what? I'm gonna sell people drywall powder, and I'm gonna tell them it's oh shit, gypsum.
Hey man, all I know is So the gypsum, his gypsum is affordable compared to where I've been buying gypsum. So I'm still a fan.
Tear down? Like, the gypsum at the where would I say easy places to get this? Feed stores,
Sure.
that kind of thing. I'm also not a huge fan of gypsum. I would think a lot of lines of just use perlite to kind of loosen stuff up because perlite's super cheap. I would say use oyster shell. Oyster shell's super, super, super cheap. There's a whole bunch of different things you can use. What happened here?
All right. First time for everything tonight. Slightly feral, so feral. We were getting into it with Dr. Myc here, and the Illuminati shut me down, guys.
Oh, I was just saying, like, you can use oyster shell. It's super cheap.
Yeah, I know. There's many other. I mean, and again, at the end of I have this debate with everybody.
Everybody's talking about the gypsum for calcium is really, and a little bit of pH balance.
Sure.
But really, you really want stuff to be on the more alkali versus the acidic side of everything. Anyway,
yes, I think that's true. All right, so let's pull up this picture here.
Okay. So grain is a passion of mine. I love grain spawn, but I've gotten interesting at how I do it. This is how I dry mine. I dry it out in the sun for the birds to shit on and the grass and the air to blow over and whatever else. Now, that's before I sterilize it. Everything is sterile, right? Everything goes through the pressure cooker. But what I do is right after this phase, right where if I could take my hand and move it and it's just slightly damp, like you can see the color change in it. You can see where I've stroked my hand through it. When you can see the color change in it and it's no longer leaving water on the table. I've got 2x4 under the legs of the table on one side just to kind of take the water off the other. Right?
Okay.
Also, I don't boil my grain. Let's start at the very beginning. Long time ago. Here we go. Very beginning. I take grain and in the most lackadaisical way possible, I take a huge pot of hot water and add grain to it. I don't measure shit. I just add enough grain until I feel like the pot's about half full of grain.
Right.
I have no heat on it this time. I heated the water up already. I add like a quarter of a cup of coffee grounds to it. I add a pinch of sulfur, just the same little pelleted yellow sulfur you use for your grass.
Okay. Yeah.
And don't go out there and buy a ton, guys. It's great, it's perfect, it's wonderful stuff, but you just need such a tiny one. I'm talking about a pinch. I've got big hands, but I'm talking about making a 20-gallon pot of grain. All that grain you see up there, maybe a teaspoon of sulfur, right? So there's like 50, Don't
buy a 50-pound bag.
Yeah. Then I add a palmful of erythritol and a palmful of your salt, the Epsom salt.
Yeah, Epsom salts. Okay.
Yeah, Epsom salt. To it, and then I just cover it and leave it alone. Sometimes I'll add if I'm in a hurry, I'll add a palmful of sugar to it, right?
Okay.
Just to kickstart the fermentation.
Yep.
So I've had almost boiling water, throw in a bunch of grain, put the top on it, walk away from it, leave it overnight. And what that's going to do is it's going to grow, it's going to expand, take up all the water, and then it's going to start the fermentation process.
Right.
And I'm going to take that and I'm going to dump it into a big strainer. And what I found is the best strainers in the world. They're you get them at the Asian store, and what they are is they're like used to cover food. They're big.
Oh yeah,
plastic
I know what you're talking about.
That they use to cover like whole tables. Right? They're like $7 or $8 for one that'll do an entire place. Like a table. They're sturdy as hell because Asians, they don't like to buy the stuff over and over again.
Right. Not like Americans. We love to buy shit over and over again.
They're like $5 or $8. They're just a big, shallow, huge strainer. They work just like a strainer. Flip it upside down, dump all your grain to that. Put it somewhere it's not going to get rained on because rain will screw this whole process up. And leave it alone for another 24 hours. Okay. Somewhere warm. You can bring that inside and put it in a cooler, or leave it outside like I do because it's warm in Texas all the time. and that is going to turn sour. It's going to start lacto-fermenting pretty hard.
Okay.
So if you go over there and you grab a handful of it and you smell it, smells like a sour dough or a sour bread. So this is now day 2 of grain prep is just pour it, just strain the water off of it and leave it the hell alone.
Mm-hmm.
Day 3 is spread it out to dry. So we've spread it out, we've dried it, and that whole process is Texas sun, maybe 20 or 30 minutes. It's gonna you'll notice your fingers get a little sticky and a little starchy when you're doing it.
Okay.
Part of the purpose of the fermentation is to get what are called endospores to open up.
Right.
Okay? They're little bacterial or sometimes fungal spores that can take some extremely high heat, some extremely, like literally the vacuum of space.
Right.
They're really hard to kill, and they're one of the reasons that, man, your jar can be going along for perfectly. You shake it, and all of a sudden it is contaminated. And you've done nothing else. It's been in a sterile jar. It's been cooking along. Everything's been doing great. But you shake it, and now it's contaminated. Now, the contamination was always there. It was just hidden on the inside, and now you can see it.
Yep.
A lot of that is endospores. You can get those little bastards to hatch by a light fermentation process. Then when you go to pressure cook it, you've added billions and billions and billions and billions of yeast, which are making lactobacillus and bacteria that you're now murdering in mass through the pressure cooking process. But it's adding a whole lot of nutrition, just tons and tons of it.
Oh yeah, dead bacteria turns into food. Yeah,
it's already bite sized for them. Yep. You're adding tons and tons and tons of nitrogen. You're adding potassium. You're adding phosphoruses. You're adding calciums from the diatoms and everything else breaking down.
Okay.
So and then I'll add a couple of handfuls of straw, a couple of handfuls of perlite. That goes back to why it makes it nice and airy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And I actually got a picture, if I have it, if it downloaded. What, you dirty bastard. That would show what I meant by that. Oh, actually, I do.
I hope I'm not the only one who's absolutely going to do the 3-day grain prep now. I'm like,
dude,
you literally have me excited about this. Like, fuck yes, I'm gonna hatch every endospore I can. I'm gonna murder them. I'm gonna feed these Myc bacteria or dead bacteria till the cows come home.
There's the it's uploading here.
Okay.
There's the big strainer that I'm talking about. There you go.
Yep, I know those. Yes, if you live remotely by a big city, or even like a medium-sized city, there is definitely an Asian food store, and somewhere in the Asian food store there will be an aisle that has all the like kitchen utensils and stuff like that. There's like 4 of them up in Cleveland. Every time I go up there, I gotta go see what neat tricks they got up in their little kitchen aisle.
It works so well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I found that if that light fermentation process followed by adding a little bit of stuff to keep space, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like you were talking about jumping, it likes to move around. So the little bit of perlite and the perlite, what we're using the perlite there for, we're putting it in dry, as we're using that to buffer the amount of water.
I do that with Verm. But I'll try it with perlite. Same difference.
I think we talked about that a long time ago. I was like, hey, when you're doing this, you're going to throw a handful of dry grain on the top before you pressure cook, or a handful of perlite in there and shake it up.
Yep.
It just so you never have to worry about having too much water or not enough water.
Exactly.
It's not going to suck water out of nothing. It's not like a desiccant at all. It's going to just absorb excess water, but not steal water.
Right.
So, and then the straw in there just to kind of help it go to different places.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that doing this, not only am I using a lot less grain, and you'd think it'd be hard to break up, and it's really not hard to break and shake. I don't use glass jars anymore. I use when I make my grain, I use like little 2-pound bags.
Dude, you're my buddy Ed does the same thing. He's showing me these videos of these like maybe 1 gallon Ziploc bags, and it just has patty rice in the bottom, and yeah.
Yeah, well, I buy them off of Amazon. They're just small. They have a filter patch and stuff on them.
Oh no shit. Okay.
Yeah, they're just small. They're like 3.5 inches by 3.5 inches by 12 inches tall.
Cool.
And 2 pounds of grain fits absolutely perfect in them, which is like 1.5 large porcelain coffee cups. And that's how I measure that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like my daughter, who's 3, her job is to fill the bag. So she's 1.5 coffee cups and she's good to go. 2 pounds of grain.
2 of these mugs.
Yeah.
Half of this cup.
Pretty much.
Do it 2 hands tall, and then your child's fistful of yes, right. The old school measurements, yes.
America. There's American measurements.
Yeah, it works. Yeah. I mean, when I built furniture there and did a lot of like restoration trim work, there would be times where the tape measure was not what you needed. You needed a story stick because you needed
I cook a lot, so everything
old school
by pinches or palmfuls or handfuls, and but they work. The grain fits in those bags really, really well. And once it's sterile, guys, it's fucking sterile. You can't get more sterile than sterile. And I see people doing these pressure cooking for 6-hour things. Guys, you can't get sterile is a destination.
You can't get steriler.
All right? It's not a trip. It's not like I'm going to go on the sterile road trip. No, you're going too fucking sterile.
Or really sterile.
Yeah,
it's not a word.
You don't get bonus points for extra sterile. Sterile is a one thing. You get there, you're done. I do everything for, like, if I'm doing sterile, I do everything for 90 minutes, 17 psi, and just that's what those Presto quartz do with the old style rockers. The new one, I'm not so sure about, but the old style rocker ones, they do 17 psi. That's just what they do.
Yeah. Now you can, even on the new ones, you can order the weight where you can change the weight. Get the older weight is better.
That's the only way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those really, really, really kick ass.
Yeah.
And that's how I do grain. Like, and once it's sterile, I've got grain spawn that, well, I guess it's not spawn because I haven't injected anything into it, but I just have grain that's ready to go in a bag that's hydrated. It's sterile. We moved, and I'm not playing with any mushrooms again for at least another 8 or 9 months, but it's been sitting in the storage in just a locker, and I went and checked on it today actually, and I was like, hey, still good.
Yep.
Just because sterile is a destination. Once you're there, as long as nothing happens to it, it's sterile.
As long as nothing sneaks in there.
Yeah, and if you've sprouted and killed your endospores through a light fermentation process, guys, that the difference it made in that. And then I learned about that from a soil biologist guy who was talking about, man, how these endospores are so cool. And I was like, those little fuckers, I bet you they're in my damn grain.
Yeah.
And after a bunch of research, turns out endospore diseases are a big thing within certain rye crops and certain grain crops. Okay. And one of the reasons they have such a hard time, they have to irradiate some of the seeds before they can plant them. So
yeah, cool shit. Endospores, they're no joke. It's like, well, you probably know.
You're just like, shut the fuck up talking about endospores.
No.
You said endospores like 23 times in like 38 seconds. You say endospore one more time.
So I'm going to say endospore as well. No, it reminds me of C. diff in the hospital and how impossible to kill that stuff is. I mean, that stuff can just sit in pure bleach for 5 minutes and not die. It's got to be 10 minutes.
A hospital that got shut down, side note, because it was in the ceiling tiles.
Yeah. So we had rooms.
Shit in the ceiling
I know.
tiles.
And I don't know how it can't get killed because they would come in, they would literally just fog and spray like 4 different chemicals, and then they'd have the machine that blasted UVC everywhere. And every single patient that would go into that room and be there longer than a few days would get C. diff every freaking time.
That sounds like what happened to this one.
Yep.
relatively famous hospital.
So yeah, those spores, man, they're no joke. But like you said, they're indestructible when they're in their dormant phase. But the minute they hatch, they're vulnerable. They crack open, and now they can be easily sterilized. Correct. Yes.
They it's a one-way street.
They're not a turtle. They cannot hide in their shell.
They don't come back. So they're pretty cool to kill.
Yeah.
It's just another murdering.
And I never even thought about
sticker. We should make an endospore assassin sticker.
Fuck yes, that is a good idea.
I'm doing that.
We need the endospore voodoo doll is what we need. Yes. That comes with like pins so we can just like stab it. Yes.
Shit, yes.
That's a good idea. All right, so I love your 3-day grain.
Yeah.
I never thought I would say I love your 3-day grain in my life, but I think I do. I think I get it. If nothing else, it sounds like a fuck around and find out for me for sure.
Dude, it works really, really well. I'll never steer you guys wrong. If you
don't. Yes.
A lot of the times, if you message me personally on Discord, it might be a minute till I get back to you because I'm working, not just at home and on the farm, but like in my regular job. I might be in the hospital or something like that, and I'm going to answer you, but it might be 3 a.m. When I get a break. So I will answer you, but it might be 3 a.m. And don't ask me the same fucking question over and over again. Like everybody else asks the same questions.
Some people do. I almost swear, I'm like, are there bots for this? Like, are there newbie Myco bots that just ask? I don't get it. It's crazy, but yes.
Let's talk about sending samples to people.
Sure.
Because everybody fucks this up.
Go for it.
All right. So everybody fucks this up. Here's what how many of you in there are pretty serious about like sharing genetics and sending samples to each other? There's 2 or 3 acceptable ways in my world. Right? So is a liquid culture, which is not like, depending on what you're sending, is of questionable like legality.
Sure.
However, a little secret, cops don't know what the fuck they're looking at, and neither does anybody else. So don't label it highly suspicious drugs.
Right.
Look at this. Just don't fucking label it, period. They'll think you sent a jizz sample or something, and leave it the fuck alone.
Right.
Like, because just don't label it at all. I never label anything, and I just tell people the color codes of stuff.
Sure.
Secondly, instead of syringes, if you get serious about it, I brought props.
Yeah.
All right. So this is what I send people my samples in. Inside there is my version of a blank liquid culture.
Okay.
So it's a little bitty vial. It's a 20 ml vial. If you notice, it's not all the way full, because if it was all the way full, where would I have to put my sample in?
Right.
This is a blank liquid culture. So my liquid cultures are nice and dark, kind of amber color right there, because they have peptone in them, which we've been using peptone for years, and people just now started to figure out what the heck peptone is. It's dead autolyzed bacteria. It's the same reason that we ferment stuff, we kill it, we have all that dead bacteria to feed to our mycelium. So it's dead autolyzed bacteria. That means that they put it through a filter small enough to shred all of its little bodies into little bitty pieces, and it's basically bacteria compost.
Gotcha.
So super awesome. It's dextrose, not sugar. Sugar is a complex carb. Dextrose is a very, very simple sugar.
Simple, yeah.
Yeah. So it's basically sugar, dextrose, and that's pretty much it.
Now I can augment your graphics here. I have if you're really nice to Slightly, then he sends you one, and this is a culture that's been sitting in my fridge since March. And you don't have to knock it up with hardly anything at all, because it's going to sit there and it's going to grow. And
so I take from my mother jar, right? I put it. You've got a lot of us.
Another little cloud. You sent me 4, man. I cherish these things. They're awesome.
You buy these. I'm gonna teach you how to make them real quick.
Okay.
You're gonna learn it real quick. This is 3 pieces.
Yep.
This jar right here. There's a rubber stopper that goes in the top.
And then that
rubber stopper.
Yep, and then that little
piece,
aluminum piece.
If you go on Amazon they sell the kit to make these 20 ml vials, or 10 ml vials, or 5 ml vials. I prefer 20. There's something magical about this size that you're not Jewing everybody, because you're not giving them a full 10 ml syringe, right? Of anything. Also, shipping a syringe, guys, come on, really? How much more shoot this up can it look? Okay, so stop sending each other syringes. It's sketchy. Send each other vials. Less sketchy. You can hide this in anything. A stuffed animal, a Beanie Baby. Nobody cares. So you take from your mother culture, suck up some, put it in there, squirt it in there, then pull your needle almost out, just so it's right at the top, and then suck out all the back pressure, the air. Right, that you've created by injecting into this. These can take a ton of pressure, and they won't explode. But if you pull your needle out through that little bitty hole, it's going to go, it's just going to spray all over because you just put a whole bunch of pressure in there. To make these vials, is I take the little glass vials, come empty, and I line up a whole shit ton of them, and then I take a huge syringe. It's called a Tumney syringe. You're familiar with them, right? The big feeding syringes, the Tumneys with the little anteater top on them. If you're not familiar with them, the word is Tumney, Toomney. It's a Tumney syringe. They're really, really cheap. They hold like 100 mils. So I just fill that thing up full of my blank liquid and go along and just fill each one of those up about halfway. Then I put the top on them, and I don't crimp it tight. I put the top on them, and then I just crimp it a little bit, just enough to hold it, and then I line these bitches up in the freaking pressure cooker. Just put the water in the bottom of the pressure cooker, a brick or something to keep the plate above the water line. Put them in there, pressure cook, 90 minutes, done. And then when I take them out, I just hit them with the crimp device. The crimp device is maybe $12 or $14. Like on Amazon. And then that's it. And then now this is sterile, and it will sit on your shelf forever. This
I mean, I can endorse that.
12 years old, and it's just empty.
There is no way this is not absolutely just nothing but Myc in there, and it will stay that way.
Is that you're adding your sample to this, so that as this goes in shipping, it's actually going to grow. And then what you tell your customer or your friend or whoever you're trading stuff to is that you're not going to don't take all of it out. Right? They just need enough to knock up whatever they're doing or whatever they're doing, and then put the rest of it in the refrigerator and use that as their master culture. Right? So you've got this vial, put it in the refrigerator, take a little out, put it into a new jar full of liquid culture, grow your own that you fuck around with. And keep that master one there. And there's people who have like my original, what is the one that everybody fucking loves? Tim will know. Deadpool would too. It's the
what variety?
Yeah, I came up with this really, 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 really good screwed up one. It was just an isolation of
tits.
No, tits was an accident.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Give me just a half a second. Here you go. Where's he at? God damn it.
He was here 2 seconds ago.
Yeah. It's Feral's. God damn it. I just drew a complete blank, and I never do that.
It's okay. I do it all the time.
I have too much blood in my alcohol system.
I guess.
That's what it is.
But yeah, these things are great, man. That's cool. I'm gonna have to look that up. I mean, this is definitely a cool way. Why isn't it doing this? To store.
They're super, super great. But there's people who have some of my original ones that are like super, super good that I've had for a long time, and that they've had the original strain of it. Right, and then they use it over and over. They go back to it. Whenever it starts mutating weird, they can always go back to the fridge. And create a new one and keep going. So, they work really good, and that's probably my favorite way to share genetics with that is or plates. We trade plates. Like you and me have traded plates.
Bunch.
So the as far as tits, so how tits started is we had an experiment one day as I had a couple of drinks, and I had this whole huge box of plates that I was just, they were great, gorgeous plates. Like, I make good, pretty plates, but I end up with so many of them and only so many people that I actually want to trade with. Right. So, like, there's an example of one that I ended up throwing away. But yeah. So, hey, it's a beautiful plate. It's a beautiful isolation. It's a perfect, great isolation. It's happiness and sunshine. But if you have 200 or 300 of them, what the fuck?
Yeah, dude, right? Yes.
And I'm not trying to be like everybody and their mom. Like, I don't want to be famous for Cubensis, right? So I do that for fun. I don't do that as
right.
If you come to me, you want something, you want supplies and you want gourmet stuff or knowledge. That's what I'm there for, not for the Cubensis. So I had all these Cubensis plates, and I was like, well, I just don't want to throw them away because like a whole bunch of colonized plates is really sketchy.
Yeah.
Right. So I just took a 5-gallon bucket and I sat there and just outside, shorts and a t-shirt, and just plucked them out and dropped them in the bucket, handful of compost, handful of friggin' just whatever I had around, forest floor or whatever, and then just a layer and a layer. All in all, there was like 1,000 plates in a 5-gallon bucket of just random stuff. Some of them were monokaryotic, right?
Yep.
So some of them were just random monos that I had laying around. How many golden teacher monos do you really friggin' need, right? Like, so it's just, so yeah, it's going to make babies with something in there. And I was just like, well, fuck it. I got this bucket and I didn't have anyway. I was like, my personal philosophy is sterilize everything. So I was looking at this as like, it was a total abomination. And, and so I just put it inside of a garbage bag and slid it underneath the porch. And I was like, whatever happens, happens. Right? At least grow, little buddy. At least I gave you a shot.
Yeah.
Right? And,
I remember this. I mean, I remember when you guys were talking about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So we call it the what the bucket grow.
Yeah.
It was just like, what the bucket. Whatever comes out of there, it's going to be great. So it came out and started fruiting, and it made some just ridiculous fruits.
Yeah.
Some of them were like, not two little clusters were the same, right? And because we didn't know what was in there, we had a general idea. We knew I could have probably named all the different types that were in there, a few hundred isolations.
Right.
But I wasn't going to just, some of these guys have something slightly weird and then they just name it their own new one and send it out there and try to make a bunch of money off it.
We know.
It's stupid.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. Well, so I was just like, well, fuck it. I'm just going to make 10 plates of each new one and give it away. Well, one of the neat ones came out and looked like a perfect, amazing, perky tit.
Yeah.
Right?
I remember the pic.
Yeah, it was like, so I don't remember who it was that named it Tits, but we named it Tits, and it was just like the stem was just as blue as the freaking can. Right? It was just amazing.
Yeah.
And I no longer even have that one. I moved. I lost it. I don't know what the hell happened to it.
Dude, you sent it to me, and I had it in cold storage, and then my frickin' refrigerator, which is only a beverage cooler, it doesn't even have a freezer area, it somehow froze everything. So even I lost it. It was like, again, the Illuminati fucking are everywhere, I guess.
I know it's out there because some people are still using it, right? Like, they're like, man, because I get messages from them, and they're like, holy shit, this thing's strong.
Yeah.
But it just looks like a crazy golden teacher. I was like, that's how isolations work.
Yeah, and see, guys, all you have to do is do crazy ass shit. This is what I'm saying. The shit that you jokingly say in passing, SlightlyFeral will just try it. Just do it. It's cool.
Why throw it away? I mean, give it a shot. Like, what happened? Yep. Get you an old refrigerator, and that I use that as your incubation chamber for everything.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I just take a. I'll show you real quick. I got this one. I think I got this one. Uploaded actually. Wow. Yep. There you go.
Here we go.
So I take that. I think that's a 10-gallon. Yeah, it's a 10-gallon aquarium heater,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just inside of a jar with a little bit of art, like silicone, around the hole that I fed
Right.
the thing through, and then I just crank that thing to like 80 degrees, and then that's a gallon and a half jar, so it's like one of the big jars,
Right.
you know. Um,
It's got to be big enough to hold it.
yeah, you could fit one of the compact ones in a half-gallon jar,
Right.
because you can still find the half-gallon jars real easy. You can find those at most grocery stores,
Right.
but the big jars for the real tall ones, I don't know where you can find them anymore. They don't even sell pickles in those and
Right.
glass ones anymore. They're all plastic. But they work so well. Now that's all you need to gently heat.
To gently heat it, yes.
Yeah. Your whole refrigerator. The refrigerator is designed to keep heat in or cold
Right.
out. So yeah, just take an old refrigerator and nobody's gonna ever know. Like they never even.
Except my wife,
that's-
who will give me shit about it. What are we
Hey,
doing
that's-
with this damn refrigerator now?
It's your
Yeah.
grain refrigerator. It's your
Yep.
baby. That's what
Yep.
that's just what I do to like what I was doing to just like basically colonize all my grain.
Yep.
Because I put them in there and I had to set at 80. It kept the big refrigerator at about 72 to 75. So perfect.
Yep. That's great. That's cool.
Yeah. Worked out well.
Cool, man. I have a few. Let me see what we haven't talked about. We did Vial Tech. Oh, I want to talk about. So glitter plates, and then the 2-color pores. So this guy. Do you got pictures of this, by the way?
I don't. I do. That
If not, it's on his website. You can go to Spore-Topia.com. There's a hyphen between Spore and Topia. I think he still has it on his website. But this guy does just some, when everybody else is just boring and they just pour their MEA plates and, oh, that's fine. Or maybe they get really snazzy and put a couple drops of food coloring in. Nope. Not slightly. He's going to be doing something way more memorable than that.
I really do have a billion pictures of plates.
You do, yes.
But that's because I get real proud of him, man.
Yeah, he's done some spectacular, like, artistic level plates.
That's what
Glitter, he gets colors you've never seen.
It's not glitter, it's mica.
Oh, okay. I mean, it has the effect of glitter, though, yes.
Oh, yeah.
It looks glittery.
Yeah, no, it looks like glitter, but it's not. It's mica.
But, man, I want if you can find one of your swirl plates, that's what I would love to show.
I do. I'd have to text it to you, though. I mean, or something, because, like I said, it's taken me for freaking ever.
Hold on. Let me see if I can just pull it up on your website.
Yeah.
I think you have a picture on your website.
I'm pulling up a...
Not exactly. I have your hypnotic gold, but this will give people an idea.
Yeah, I got a gold one there. I'm uploading a gold one right now.
Okay, cool.
All right.
I will pull up in the meantime. His website is Spore-Topia.com. There's a hyphen between Spore and Topia. But here, I'm going to pull up.
Let's see if that's going to upload.
All right, you might beat me.
It says it's processing. There you go. There's a gold one.
All right. So here, just because I was in the middle of pulling it up. So here's him mixing in. So that's, what do you say it was, mica?
Yeah, that's mica.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and they're sexy, man. They just look good.
Yeah. For the longest time, it used to be like my signature thing is that I had like these really, really crazy plates. They were gorgeous. And people
they look super cool.
And then everybody and their mom was trying to figure out what the hell I did to them.
Right.
And I gave so much disinformation out there that people are just like, I was like, oh, no, it's lipstick. It's what it is. It's melted lipstick. Just all fucking sorts of stupid shit.
This is just like SlightlyFeral at his AA meeting fucking with people for a while.
Yeah. Well, it was and then
Man, I wish if somebody has a picture of his swirl ones, man, just like send it to me on Discord or something. I will.
Yep.
I will pull
Thomas
it up
is
because I
right.
can't
Myc
find it.
is,
But yeah, so he does dual pours where he's got two
Yeah.
different colors, and so you got to have a second person that's moving plates for you.
Or a very talented penis.
But mine's not that talented. But yes, he's pouring two colors at the same time, and he got his technique just so it almost looked like a yin and yang. Man, it looked cool. Yin and yang. Sorry, I had a little linguistic.
I still do a bunch of those colors for like friends who have like football,
Yeah.
like teams that they want. Okay, well, I'll make the colors together, but it's mica. The coloring is mica. For the longest time, it used to be a secret, but then people started figuring it out on their own,
Right.
and then trying to charge a lot more. Because I just charge, it doesn't matter what it is. You get $250 a plate for me. The only thing I charge more for are antibiotic plates, because those are kind of a bitch. Sometimes the antibiotics don't like to, because they're usually in an acid base.
Right.
They'll eat the agar, and the agar turn watery after a little while.
Oh,
So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, some antibiotics are kind of a bitch, and some of them are hard to get a hold of, and some of them are like not heat stable. So I have to literally have a vacuum. I have to work in a vacuum, not a still air, but like actual vacuum in order to get it to work. Which is a neat little box that I have that's very expensive and was not intended for that at all. But
yeah, so the antibiotics can be tricky. I agree. You sent me some gentamicin sulfate, and I have used it. And what I found out is sometimes it helps and sometimes it doesn't, because it's all gram-negative rods. I'm pretty sure is what it mostly kills. And
yes, sir.
There's a couple other things, and I know Dirty South runs different antibiotics. Everybody seems to be trying different antibiotics. Some antibiotics can be used for things other than killing bacteria, like doing interesting things to your mushrooms too. But yeah, sometimes the water agar does not cut it, and if you got a really precious culture that you're trying to save in a pinch, it's never bad to have a couple of those plates on hand.
Rainbow Light, yes. The vials have a self-filling injection port. This is a 20 milliliter multi-use vial. You're supposed to be able to access it 100 or so on times before anything bad happens to it. With the gray, the little gray guy is a self-filling injection port. If it's red, the red foam ones are only good for 20 or 30. They say 3 to 5, but in reality it's 20 or 30. These gray ones, they're good for at least 100.
I use these kind of vials at work all the time, and I'm never doing it 100 times, but I've never in my life had an instance where it doesn't maintain.
Unless you're using a filter needle, and then that makes a giant hole.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
Well, I'm only using that vial once at that point, but yeah. All right, so we talked a little bit about the agar plates. We talked about sub. We talked about vial tech. We talked about grain, straw. Two things I want to talk about. What do you think the best way to make an all-in-one bag is? Like, what goes on top of that? Just your okay.
I put the substrate on the bottom because it has a tendency to. If I'm making an all-in-one bag, I'm putting the substrate on the bottom, and I'm not fully hydrating it a lot, right?
Right.
I don't want it to be like one drip. I want it to be just barely hydrated enough. Grain has a shitload of water in it. I'm putting the grain on top because you ever see in your grain bags when you get a really aggressive strain of mycelium, how it releases heat and the bag kind of steams up?
Right.
The same thing happens with your grain, except now your substrate's is underneath the grain. It's going to absorb any excess water, and it's going to prevent you ending up with just pools of water sitting somewhere that can be bad, or get your filter patch wet or anything like that. So I put the grain on top. And then I use very large bags when I grow.
Okay.
Man, this thing makes my beard itch so bad. and this huge beard, and it's just really not happy being
Yeah, Slightly has a pretty badass. He's got his hair all back right now, but he's got some badass hair for sure.
My hair is like down to my manly nipples, and but anyway, so I use very large bags when I'm growing. They're huge. I don't know the unicorn size for them, but they're probably 2.5 feet long by 10 inches wide by like 12 inches wide. They're big. They hold.
I mean, you do. You gotta do it big, right?
They do. I know they very comfortably hold 17.5 to 20 pounds of grain. Wow. That's before you even get into the filter patch. And that's usually when I'm doing grain. It does 1 grain bag per 23 quart Presto cooker, and those go out to like I have one customer that grows a lot of shiitake. And they just can't seem to get their grain right. And I've told them, pay me, and I will come teach you how to do the 3-day per process. I've told them 1,000,000 times because I don't like making that much grain in it and selling it as one piece, right? One, I feel like I'm ripping them off, right? Two,
some people they got money, they don't have time, or they don't have the patience. Yeah,
the processing time for that damn thing to get hot all the way to the middle is a long time.
Yeah.
It's 273 minutes, I think, is what we came up with.
Wow.
Which some people process that long because they're, Sterile's a destination, but not a journey. And I'm just not a huge fan. But I use those for growing everything else, and I colonize them standing up. Right?
Okay.
Mix everything, colonize standing up, and then when I want a fruit, I flip it on its side.
Right. Oh yeah, you were the person who told me about using the bag sideways. I started
that shit a long time ago.
Yes.
So okay, all you guys who want to grow cubensis and you have no fucking sorry, I swear a lot, but you have no idea what you're doing or you're failing a lot. Here's a good way to do it. Right? Is you're going to take a very large bag. It doesn't matter what kind it is. You're going to have your sterile substrate in there. An all-in-one bag is probably your best bet. So an all-in-one bag has substrate and grain spawn in it, right? And you inject through the bag, usually through an injection port, into the grain and let that colonize. And then you just kind of squish it around and mess it around on top to get it to spread around, and you leave it alone. Then when it gets time for it to you break and shake it all, is you'll just break up the top and then break up the bottom and then flip it over end a few times. Heck, you could probably throw it in the dryer. It'll work too. I've seen people break up their grain in those big bags because they're 20 mil thick. They're thick. I've seen them put them in the dryer on just no heat. Don't recommend it. But just squish it up real good, flip it end over end a couple times. It's going to mix. You don't have to be perfectly mixed. Your grain is not really food. In core, you're using the grain as the only source of food. Right? When you're making the core vermiculite or whatever the newest trend is.
Yeah.
It's not food for the mycelium.
Right, at all.
The grain is. That's why you have to use like a 1-to-1 with grain to core, is because your core is only adding moisture. It's not adding anything else.
Right.
So, your grain ideally should just be the carrier for your mycelium. Does that make sense?
It's not a standard, I think, mindset, but I'm following you. Yes.
I don't use the grain as a food at all. I use it to just use it as like little seeds, little mycelium seeds.
Yep.
I want it to spread out through everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just use it as the carrier of the mycelium to get the mycelium throughout my substrate. So I don't really worry about getting it super, super mixed up, like perfectly homogenized. I'm okay with it being a little bit wonky here, a little bit wonky there, a little bit pulled up there, because it's going to spread everywhere anyway. Then instead of trying to make it go back into a fancy little cube by dropping it 1,000,000 times and squishing all that air we just put into it.
Right.
Remember? Because now we want it nice and oxygenated, because it's going to put off a lot of carbon dioxide. You're going to now just lay it flat and let it colonize flat and kind of just push all your substrate out with the filter patch facing up, and just kind of squish it all out and let it colonize. And when the whole brick turns white, I have a billion pictures of this. Let's see if we can get one of them, because this is one of those things that really does not transfer to, and I have no idea why they won't open, man.
All right, while you're doing that, we got the hookup. I forget who sent this to me. It was, because I want to give John of the Jungle. He sent me what I've been waiting for. One of your swirl plates.
All right.
So that's all you got to do, guys. You just get the wife to come down and help you stack plates, or maybe you got a buddy that lives nearby. If you're really lucky and living the dream, you have a friend nearby that does all this with you, and you guys can pour some cool yin yang swirl plates.
All right, let's see here. More options. Let's convert this.
Here we go.
We should be able to. Okay, well, it's not going to actually open. That's very, very, very strange.
We tried.
I don't understand why it won't.
Yeah, we talked about that one time, pre-YouTube Discord podcast, the Pegasus bags. Garrett
If we had,
talking
you know
that.
what we can do? You guys are all on the Discord, right?
You could send it to me in Discord, and if you give me a hot second, I
could just pop it into the. What do you want to be in? Chill and chat on your Discord?
No, you can
Where's
just,
it
or you
at,
can
right?
DM me. Just put it in the DM.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll get it. Mm-hmm.
Oh, hey, they're in general.
Yep. All right, guys, while you're waiting, like, subscribe, tell your friends, anybody who doesn't know about the podcast. It's a good time. I definitely appreciate hearing people saying they're tuning in and getting something out of it. I appreciate that. And if you're not already on Discord, go watch yourself, a quick little I'm new to Discord video and get it figured out. First time I tried it, I hated it. And then that was when I got linked up with Deadpool and his Discord, and I just watched a freaking video on like how to navigate it, and it really helped me get it figured out, and then I loved it.
Yeah, it's so user friendly. It's definitely the way of the future.
I agree. My cousin's kid, we took her to an amusement park over the summer, and she was like, "Uncle Geeky, why are you on Discord? That's for kids, man." And I was like, "I'm not on Discord. Don't talk to me." Yeah.
What do you mean Discord?
I'm not on Discord. What are you talking about? Anyway, yeah, I just love, we got a special little Discord. People are really nice and helpful. People don't like hide their secrets. They don't want to monetize every single little fucking thing they do. And we're just nice to each other there. And so we got this giveaway going. So I'd love to have a few more people. Basically, if you like this podcast and you're not in the Discord, get in the Discord because you're going to enjoy it. All right. Did you get it?
I sent it to you.
Okay, let me pull it up.
Can I have a pause so I can go to the bathroom?
Oh, go for it, man.
All right. I'm just going to turn off my camera here.
All right, guys. Let me pull up some of these pictures. One day, we'll get all this stuff done ahead of time, and it won't be spur of the moment, but it's okay. All right. Here we go. We're getting it. This is the picture I've been looking for. This will be worth the wait, guys. So yeah, anyway, we're giving away a lot of stuff, man. I got a lot of really nice, generous people, an insane amount of swabs, prints, plates, LC, of course, Heat Geek sterilizers, HPLC testing from Flourish Labs, some secret stuff I don't want to talk about yet that's going to be really special and really cool. Literally just thousands of dollars worth of stuff. E-mesh rig from one of my buddies that makes these really special e-mesh rigs for DMT. Just you name it, there's going to be all sorts of cool shit being given away here in December. All right, you're back. I got it. I got to convert them and then load them up.
Beautiful, man. You're the man.
We got it. On the fly, making it happen.
That I think I just kind of got caught up in trying to describe to people how you lay the bags flat to colonize. But the reason I do that is to spread out the surface area. I mean, they're only going to be yay thick when they're colonized. But then what you're going to do is you take it all in one bag, inoculate it. Once it's all squished up, colonize it flat, and then you can just go and cut a freaking X in the top of the bag and put it inside of a Sterile container and fruit right there.
Yep.
You don't have to worry about having a sterile room, sterile tech, any other crap. That's my grain spawn. That's what I was talking about, doing grain spawn with.
That's cool, man. A little bit of hay. Yeah, and that just seems like a little more natural, like what the Myc might prefer. Okay, and then this is
forest floor.
What is this? That's the forest floor.
The forest floor. And those are how the bags colonize when they're flat.
That is so cool.
And then what you'll do, you need to leave that filter patch sitting up because it's going to produce a lot of carbon dioxide, and you need to be able to, exchange that.
Dude, guys, I don't know if this is missed on you, but this is why this guy is on this podcast. It's because, all the rest of us, we got our grow bags upright, and this guy just says, "Oh, let's just lay it down. Let's just see what happens."
Surface area for fruiting.
I just appreciate that.
Yeah, so you'll just take that, and now one of those big bags, I guess it'd be like the unicorn's biggest bag. I looked real quick. Is that they fit in a 27-quart tote, the whole bottom of it. It's the same size as the lid. It's the same size as the bottom when it's all squished out. And
that's great.
So you just pop it in there, use your eraser or whatever. Once it's fully colonized, it's really pretty everything proof, right? You don't really have to worry about being super sterile. Be clean. You don't have to worry about being super sterile, but be clean. Which means, little rub alcohol on your hands, wear gloves, put something on your dirty dick beaters, right? And then just cut the top off and be good to go.
Agreed.
And then put the top back on, but no, don't drown it, right? It's already got plenty of water inside the bag. It would have fruited in the bag just fine. If you feel the need, absolute fucking need, to add some water to it, do not spray the substrate. Spray the sides of the container.
Right. You're just trying to humidify that container.
And there's no reason to add any sort of fresh air holes or anything like that. Professional people who do this a lot will add a bunch of fresh air holes and stuff because we know how to leave shit alone.
Right.
Like we put it in there and then we leave it alone until it's time to harvest it. Most people go, let me go look. And every time you do that, you're adding fresh air anyway.
Yep. Exactly. So,
the tote's clear, but you got to open the top just to look at it. But you don't need to add. I do run in modified tubs when I do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And if I do have any sort of problems, a little hydrogen peroxide works great. Spray something with a little bit of hydrogen peroxide. But,
see, if I get anything substantial, I just toss it. I'll sit on it for a day or two and see what it's doing. Depends upon where if I got a flush, middle of a flush or not. But
I had a problem there for about, I'd say 2 months. I was trying to grow just random shit, and I ended up with this orange kind of mold. It has a specific name, and I can't remember the name of it right now. But it's like a big orange furry mold, and then it just turns like a kind of like a slime mold. But it's brilliant orange. It's like a hunter's orange type stuff, and it has a very particular smell. And But I ended up with that. Now that stuff is pretty easy to kill with hydrogen peroxide. But once it goes into the fruiting mode and it's in your house, just move. Like it's worse than trick. I tried using that. I had one of those devices that sprays the hydrogen chloride stuff, the atomizer, and I had my house professionally atomized, cleaned, and everything for COVID or whatever.
Didn't.
I don't know what it was. I didn't even have a piece of carpet in the entire house.
Wow.
And that stuff would still come back. I changed my shampoo. I was like, maybe it lives in my hair. Where's it coming from? Right? Like anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't know what it is and where it came from. I suspect that it got into little bitty cracks or something you couldn't see in the plastic of the bins.
Yeah.
Like scratches and stuff like that. And then it just couldn't. I should have just thrown all my bins away instead of keep trying to clean them and start over. With just the Sterile bins are $20. It's totally not even worth trying to save them if they're contaminated.
It is not. No.
Trick is okay. It's pretty easy to kill. Oh man, I wish I'd have sent you those other pictures too. So when I'm done with my substrate, and it's done. It just doesn't matter what it is, whether it's a cube or like just a regular gourmet mushroom. And I'm spending a lot of time talking about cubes, even though they're just a very small amount of what I actually do, because that's pretty much what everybody's interested in.
It is, yeah.
So I take and I have a tomato patch, right? So I take post hole diggers and I dig. I like to dig deep to bury my tomato plants because it makes a huge root system. But then instead of mulching between them, I just throw more and more and more used substrate there. Right. And the next thing you know, the tomatoes are growing in a mound of just mushroom mold, basically. About yay deep. And then just the most amazing things grow out of that. You'll have a shiitake mushroom growing right next to a friggin' whole big old cluster.
I've seen your pictures, man. It's crazy.
Yeah. You have a shiitake mushroom just growing next to like a big old Roma tomato growing right next to a pink oyster right over here. There's a whole cluster of cubes. It's just every day it's something new. You're gonna have all sorts of crazy stuff, and every time it rains, it flushes. Every time you water, it flushes. And
see, now you're in Texas, so your climate is a little more advantageous for that. I have a narrower window for that sort of stuff.
Ooh, there's a horse whiskey that I happen to know the individuals that run it, and they're not too far. They're a few hours drive from me, but they're in a slightly more wet environment than I am, and it rains almost weekly over there, much closer to the border. And I went there with like a half-gallon pail of grain spawn on purpose, because what they do is they clean out their stalls and they just spread all that horse poo and stuff out in this pasture. Right. And I went there. I was like, "Hey, the weather says it's going to rain. You mind if I borrow your tractor?" And they're like, "Sure. What are you going to do?" I was like, "Well, I'm going to take some compost home, for my garden, but at the same time, I'm going to leave you a present."
Right.
And I just did the whole pasture in like golden teachers and the Texas variety, Florida white,
caps,
Avery's albino, just all sorts of shit. Just whatever I had grain spawn on out there. And they are like, holy crap. They're sending me pictures of like standing in like ankle deep just mushroom.
Wow.
As far as you can see.
That's awesome. Just think one day there'll be like travel destinations where it's like, oh, come to Blue Acres and pick your own psilocybin containing mushrooms.
That'd be so much fun. But if you have garden beds, why are you guys not? I mean, you're adding compost, you're adding everything else.
Yeah.
Why are you not just burying your spent blocks in there and growing mushrooms inside of that?
I am going to be giving it a go myself next spring. We'll see how I do. I have a little ravine on my property that the ground's pretty damp, and I think it'll work out.
Or just flower beds. They don't do well in flower pots inside. I've tried that.
Okay.
But as far as like just flower beds outside, break the block up and then put a little Miracle Grow on top. The Miracle Grow, like potting mix or whatever you have on top of it, it's gonna do great. Lizard King, Jesus Christ, that's it right there. Thank you, Mr. Dad.
Oh, that was the one. What? That was the one you're thinking. Oh yeah, this is like a legendary.
So one of my first isolates that I went down the rabbit hole of isolation, and I'm not talking about like just looking for a clean isolate, right? But looking for something that's just ridiculously lightning level, rhizomatic, just really, really, really pretty, like photo worthy, and everybody loved it. And I just sent a picture of it right before I called it happy. If you want to pop that one up there.
Where'd it go? Oh, you sent it on Discord?
No, I sent it to you right here in that thing. I already uploaded it beforehand.
I don't see it. Oh, is this it? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Great. Okay.
So I was looking for something super, super happy, and that was right before I decided that I loved that particular isolation. Even you can see that it's still got some sectoring and stuff going on. But for as one of my first like tries at like hardcore isolating of Cubensis, it worked out pretty well. Right, I took from the upper right hand side. I took that whole little V, basically.
All right.
And that became the Lizard King isolation, and I grew it, and it made a whole bunch of these little small mushrooms, finger size, with this pretty just black wavy cap. Like, and I was like, wow, that's different. That doesn't look like the pictures. And holy crap, they were black on the inside. You peel them apart and they're black.
Wow. Yeah.
And holy crap, like, see, Pookie's over there. This is an orgasmic kick in the nuts. Yeah. No, I would have
these for all the people isolating genetics, this is the endorsement you're looking for right here.
Yes.
The most orgasmic kick in the nuts from Lizard King.
Is it it was, I can't listen to it. Get out your gimp mask. I know, bro, but I have a professional job. I can't be. I have plausible deniability at the moment. Anyway, so the Lizard King just worked really, really well. Like, it was stupid strong. Like, I wish I could have put it up against, like, when they do the little isolation HLC testing stuff. Yeah. Because I guarantee it would be way up. It's black. Black when you feel it.
Well, and slightly. If you enter, George is going to be giving away, I think, 3 HPLC tests during the giveaway in December. Maybe you can win one, and we can find out. We can find out.
It is the most potent, and okay, I'm on ODPE right now, and we're going to talk just a little bit about responsible mushroom use here in just a second, and a little bit about science, if you don't mind the time, about how it actually comes into medicine, right? So, but most stuff is like a gradual kind of come up, and then you kind of come up. Lizard King is a surprise you're fucking high. It's like, oh, I feel okay, and it's just like instantaneous hit in the face. And do not endorse that as far as recreational use. You don't want to microdose on it. You don't want to do anything like that. Now, as far as responsible use of mushrooms, I am not the type of person who ever wants to see God. Okay? I don't want to get so high that my face is melting off and everything is burning behind me. I look at it. If you take a moderate dose, I'm saying a gram, sometimes 1.25 grams, something like that, it's a personality enhancer. It makes everything happy. Colors are better. I can stand my in-laws, which is really, really important. I don't think I've ever met them sober.
That's impressive.
Well, my wife's family is very large. She has a lot of people. And most of them share a different political belief than me.
Sure.
And so they're like, hey, there's the large white guy. let's fuck with him. And I'm like, I've got the beer and I'm on ODPE, buddy. Come on, bring it.
Right.
You know, I'm full of happiness and sunshine.
I can only imagine what that looks like.
Yeah, so I don't like, if everybody wants to, if you want to get super, super high and work out some problems, go for it. But I see its most benefit, and a benefit with a lot of people that I know that are depressed, is using a not micro, but a moderate dose.
Right.
You know, moderate doses every once in a while, and then sometimes a little bit heavier dose.
Right.
And it works out great. Most of the people that my wife knows are very professional people, and most of the people that I know are like, you know, doctors, lawyers, fellow people in the medical field, and there's awakening happening about mushrooms right now.
Yeah.
And about psilocybin is that I have people who are like, hey, you do mushrooms, right? And I was like, yeah, like I grow totally like shiitake and shit. And they're like, no, I mean like the funny ones. What do you think about those? And then I was like, all right, we're gonna have this talk. And I'll sit down and talk to them. I was like, well, psilocybin has its, you know, benefits, and there's, you know, just go through the whole dying spiel. Did you read that news article just a little while ago that they were getting people who were paralyzed like super, super, super fucking high? We're talking about giving them like 8 to 10 freaking grams of really pure psilocybin, and then telling them that they can walk, and their brain forgot that they can't.
Yep.
And these people are starting to walk again because of its neurogenic like effects, and then the fact that they're just like, it's like a glitch in the matrix.
Right.
Like, we're gonna get them really high, and then we're gonna go, you know what? You can move that foot. Like, just think about it. You can move that foot, and so they have a freaking trip that they can move that foot, and then they move that foot.
Which even on a scientific level makes sense, because it's just finding another neural network that it didn't know about to just figure that shit out. It's just utilizing more of your brain. Yeah.
Yeah. Deadpool over there, he says deaf people had started to hear again. I have a friend of mine who is he's a warden. He runs a prison in Kentucky. And he's like such a hard-line guy. He's like, I would never dream. And he's colorblind. You know, I only see in black and white. Blah, blah, blah. He's literally colorblind.
Right.
And he's a warden. He's like big angry guy, right? And he was talking to me one day. He called me because anybody that, if I love you, man, you can always call me 24/7, and I'm there for you. If you're depressed, you need somebody to talk to. If you need bail money, whatever, like, you know, you can always call me, and I got your back. And he called me, and he was like, man, I've been drinking a lot, and I'm just really depressed, and my wife's tired of me being depressed, and I don't know what to do. Do you have a program you recommend or something like that? And I'm like, hey.
You're like, I got a program for you.
Mind trying something for me. Yeah. And so I got him hooked up with some moderate doses. And we got him off of the SSRIs and got him hooked up with some moderate doses.
Amen.
And he's like, I had my first color dream.
Wow.
And he's like, I don't see in color. And I had a dream, and it was so overwhelming. And I was like, it's not even enough that he's like tripping, right? He's a pretty good sized guy. He's at maybe 750 milligrams of like ODPE, so maybe like 1.5 grams or something regular, right?
Sure. Yeah.
I say ODPE because it's just old dirty penis envy. It is probably, if you can find an isolation of it, guys, or an LC, it is probably the easiest, most resistant penis envy type to grow ever.
Yeah.
And it's very, very productive, and it's stupidly easy to cultivate. You can basically put it, forget about it, and it takes a little bit longer to fruit, maybe another week than regular stuff, but when it does, it really puts on. It's not a delicate one like all these new. It's
in my top 3, man. I love it. I think
top
it's
2 for me, man.
It's great. Yes.
But we got him hooked up with some ODPE, like maybe 750 milligram caps, which are the size O, I believe.
Yeah, the big
caps. And he's like, man, I had my first dream in color, and he was just so overwhelmed. He was like, that was amazing. Yep. And then he's like, I woke up the next day, and I just felt a lot calmer. And I went out and I mowed the lawn, and I got stuff done that I hadn't been putting off. And I was doing laundry and everything else. And he was like, I just felt clean. And I was like, yeah, I mean, it's not, you're not going to get hangover from it. It's not going to jack you up in any way. It's just, it opens up the dopamine pathways so your brain can use them again.
Yeah. Whatever the fuck it's doing, actually, I don't even care. I know by my 400th story about a positive change in a person's life that I've heard. I just know it's good stuff.
I've only been responsible for one negative. The only negative story on mushrooms I know about was my fault.
Okay.
And that was on purpose. So, okay. No shit. There I was working a festival, and there was this really annoying kid, and he just wouldn't leave me the fuck alone. Right. I'm working in a professional manner there as medical control at a festival to keep people from ODing on fentanyl or something.
Right.
And this kid wouldn't leave me alone. He said he took a lot of mushrooms. I'm like, you're not dying. Leave me alone. You're not dying. Leave me alone. But he just kept, then he started asking for food and all. I'm not babysitting him. I say kid. He's 23.
Right.
I'm not going to babysit him. I tried to push him off on other people. Finally, I just walked up to him and I was like, started pretending to pick stuff. I was like, why do you have so many spiders on you? And that was fucking it.
Dude.
Runs off into the wilderness, screaming, rolling around in the dirt. So.
And you didn't video record that and put it on TikTok. I mean, that's disappointing. I'm not going to lie. Okay.
This was before TikTok. I don't have a TikTok. I am not familiar with TikTok. But,
don't do it. It's okay. It'll take over your life.
TikTok.
I have avoided TikTok. Though many people are like, dude, you really got to get on TikTok, dude. I'm trying to avoid TikTok if at all possible. I got 2 young girls. I'm just not trying to bring the TikTok into the household.
My wife's
so I got
marketing, and she's on TikTok and doing TikTok shit all the time.
Yeah, of course. Somebody asked, have you ever tried to use sawdust in Cubensis substrate?
I have tried to use substrate, and I don't like it. Okay. What I do like is rabbit food.
Okay.
Literally rabbit food or horse pellets. Either one of those works really, really well. It's just shredded alfalfa, basically. Okay. Except that I find that the horse pellets, the way that they shred it, is that if you get it rehydrated and then mix it by hand, it gives you a shitload of splinters. So use unless you're just doing 75 pounds of it at a time, all you need is just some alfalfa pellets from just rabbit food. And the Walmart brand, the Have a Heart, I believe, is the brand, or the Wonderworld. That's the Walmart brand rabbit pellets. They're even with the crazy inflation and shit, they're still $14 for 20 pounds.
That's great.
Right? And you don't need a lot of it. You need, I wouldn't go over 20% in anything. It is very hot. Does that make sense? It's like a 4-4-4.
Sure, yeah.
As far as fertilizer.
That's pretty tame.
Yeah. But for mushrooms, that's pretty hot.
Oh, for mushrooms. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Mushrooms are not plants. They're kind of in between. And they don't like a lot of fertilizer. They like stuff that they can break down and turn into fertilizer.
Right.
But direct fertilizers, not a big fan of them because most fertilizers are salts.
Right.
So they don't like them. But,
see, it's interesting. I think this is my big takeaway in talking with you tonight is the paradigm shift from, which is definitely almost everybody's paradigm, is that grain is the food, substrate is just the water and the matrix. And you're going, it's an inoculant, whereas I'm actually looking at my substrate as the source for nutrition and water and not separating the two.
Exactly.
I think that's
your
very
substrate
interesting.
should be your growing medium. It should just be like your petri dish, right? It should be your growing medium. It should have everything a growing happy mushroom would like to live on and grow with. And it should be able to hold its own water. They can eat peat moss. They can break it down. And so they use that. They turn it directly into carbon dioxide. But in the process of that, they're getting a little bit of cellulose, a little bit of lipase, a little bit of everything else in there too. So everything in the forest floor that we just talked about is super, super edible to mushrooms. And yes, your grain is just the carrier for the mycelium. If you could figure out a way to inoculate a bunch of steelies or marbles, it'd be the same thing. Right. It's just the carrier. You just want to use it to spread it out to new, boldly go where no mycelium has gone before.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah, it's just the carrier, not the food. And you'll find that your contamination goes way down once you start looking at it that way. You're using a lot less, but you're getting a much more aggressive growth. Like your nutritional substrates, which is what we're talking about, are really get some crazy rhizomorphic aerial mycelium fun stuff going on. They really, really, really take off. I've had them on the forest floor go so fast with something like Lizard King or ODPE, Texas. They colonize so fast the bag actually gets warm. So wow. It's pretty cool, man. Like I've had them go in 72 hours, go from just adding the grain to being completely white on the outside, which that doesn't mean that it's all the way through, right? It just means that on the outside looks white.
That's crazy. Somebody asked.
Chris asked about the cake shrink more with forest floor sub. No, not until the end. At the end, after you've had several flushes, you've used up. You're not using up. Okay, in core and grain, you're limited by the amount of nutrition that's in the grain, right? So you can only get a few flushes by rehydrating it before you've just literally used up all the nutrition in the substrate, and it's done. And something that's a nutritional substrate like forest floor, man, you get 7, 8, 9, 10 flushes off the damn things. You're limited by the amount of water, not by the amount of like actual nutrition in there. You're gonna get flushes until you get tired of it. You're like, fuck it, I'm tired of the freaking golden teachers. Eat that thing outside and let it grow in the tomatoes. So
now, have you ever used? I had somebody just ask me to ask you about rice hulls. Have you ever used like whole rice?
I have not. I've used brewer's grain before, but it's just so high in protein that it just turns to glue. You just
don't try it.
It turns to glue. It's so high in protein.
Too gooey.
Yeah, like glue. It turns like glue. Glue is basically a type of protein, and it just turns to glue.
Yeah, like the old joke about the gimp horse. Yeah,
true. Elmer's. Good old Elmer's.
Well, if I make a piece of furniture like a chair that I want to be repairable, I use hide glue because I can just heat it up and it's pretty sticky.
But
all right, man. I got family in town.
Okay.
And we're at 11 o'clock, and I am adjacent to the guest bedroom that they sleep in. So this is where like reality meets, the podcast. So I'm gonna have to call it a night. It has been great having you on. I'm sure we will have you on again. Now you said you were in the process of moving, so you don't have. Do you still have some stuff on your website, correct?
I do, but
not as expansive as usual.
Yeah, it's mostly there for reference. People usually message me if they're looking for something specific.
Okay.
But right now, I'm kind of shut down. We're looking to buy a much larger piece of property, a lot further out of town.
Okay.
We'll be able to do grow a lot more food.
A lot more fucking around and a lot more finding out.
A lot more.
Yes,
I want to inoculate an entire orchard, but I want to.
That would be amazing.
I want to get shaggy mane out there, and then everything else, and just inoculate the ground with everything I can.
Dude, you're gonna create a mushroom oasis down there.
It'll be a lot of fun.
It's gonna be cool.
It'll be a lot of fun.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much for being on. I even learned several things tonight that, despite having talked to you a million times, I did not know. So thank you so much. Okay, guys. Next week, who do I have? Oh yeah, next week we have Jake Onsid. We're going to talk about some about growing pans, which is great. I just got me a Martha tent, so I'm getting excited. I can actually maybe think about growing some pans. We'll see. Well, you live down south, so you kind of live in a natural Martha tent. It's always hot and humid down there, right?
There's a lot of those the Liberty caps around here. They literally just grow in people's garden beds.
Yeah. All right, guys. So if you like the podcast, like and subscribe it. If you like the podcast, join the Discord. Get ready. We're going to have a good time in December. And, if you got other mushroom friends that have not yet watched the podcast, tell them to give it a watch. All right, guys. Take care.
I'll be in your Discord here for a little while afterwards. Just
cool, man. Bye. All right, yeah. So come to the round table and hang out with Feral. He'll be hanging out there. All right, see you guys.
Thank you, guys.